Order up!
Welcome to a brand new episode of the Aura Podcast. I'm Taryn Williams. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. Also, this is the very first episode of the Aura Podcast in 2020. So, Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you have a safe, prosperous, and a very great new year. So, in this episode of the podcast, I'm going to be talking about Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, the video game that just came out towards the tail end of 2021. I think it came out in like September or October of the year. And honestly, it's my personal game of the year. I didn't play a ton of game that came out in 2021 last year, but definitely came up. I was very skeptical about the game when it released or when they announced it back in 2020. Of course, with all the Marvel's Avengers stuff and how that game just didn't quite go as planned, and so I needed to see how the Avengers game would, or how the Guardian of the Galaxy game would turn out before I bought it. I actually bought it from GameStop for about $30. I really enjoyed it. I was telling my uncle it takes me back to those PS3, Xbox 360 type of games where it's a single player experience, no online component, no DLC, no microtransactions. It's just kind of point A to point B, finish the story. It's about 15 to 18 hours probably, give or take. And it was just a really fun experience. And Eidos Montreal did Guardians of the Galaxy, where Crystal Dynamics did Avengers. And I really hope Eidos Montreal they get another crack at Guardians of the Galaxy. I hope they get another one. I hope they do a second one. This is how the game ends. There might be a way that we might get another Guardians of the Galaxy game. 'Cause I think it was pretty well received for the most part, and a lot of people really enjoyed it. It's a lot. It hit a lot of Game of the Year awards for like different people for their like personal Game of the Years and stuff like that across YouTube. It did really well. I'm not sure about the sales numbers, but I think the game did pretty solid. And also, before I keep going in this podcast, spoiler alert for the story for Guardians of the Galaxy, any of the little nuanced things that I talk about, some Easter eggs and things like that. We're gonna hit like bits and pieces. I don't know if I want to do the entire story, kind of give a little bit of a retrospective. I'm not sure how this is gonna turn out, but definitely spoiler alert if you want to play the game so you don't ruin the experience. 'Cause I think one of the things that about Guardians of the Galaxy I really like is full of surprises. Like, and I agree. Like one of the weakest parts of the game is the combat. It's kind of irky jerky. You run around as Star Lord, and that was like really one of the first things that they showed off. And it was kind of like, maybe it might work. Like the combat's not the greatest, but it is solid for what it does. Where you do get to control the other Guardians. Everyone has 4 moves. You have 3 moves that you can unlock, and there's a fourth move that unlocks through like almost like a loyalty mission that happens in the story, kind of like the loyalty missions in Mass Effect. Actually, someone on Facebook was saying Guardians of the Galaxy is like a cartoony Mass Effect, which is actually a very good description because it does feel a lot like Mass Effect, a lot like Mass Effect. Just you're always with your crew. Your crew is really a big part of you. You do make some decisions and things like that. I actually want to look on YouTube to see how your decisions change different parts in the game, which I do want to look up. But yeah, it's not really a morale system, but you do get to do certain things. Kind of like in the early part of the game, in the tutorial section, the early part of the game, you get to pick between either hiding the space llama that you find, or you get to hide these illegal weapons that Rocket has from the Nova Corps. You get to pick. So I'm really curious to what happens. I personally picked hiding the weapons because I feel like you hiding the llamas kind of whatever. Like you'll just get a fine, but hiding the weapons might the weapons could be really big. They could be that could lead to something. So I was like hide the weapons and we'll just get fined for the llama. And later on in the story, that comes back where you actually get into a dogfight, and because you have the weapons, you have to like stall the guy you're gonna fight, and Rocket actually upgrades the Milano's weapons with the stolen weapons that you kept, that you hid from the Nova Corps, which is really cool. I thought that was really cool. There's also all the cutscenes are in engine, so there are no pre-rendered stuff. It's all that's how you make a lot of the choices. There's some really quick QTEs, a lot of QTEs. There are like some sprinkled in active cutscenes because you are playing as Star Lord. You get to make decisions, and there are some dialogue options and things like that. I try to do mostly kind of jokey Star Lord, but kind of serious, like not. I didn't want to do dickhead Star Lord. I want Star Lord to be kind of cool, kind of funny, but kind of loving too, like, so he becomes more mature over time. You can make Star Lord a complete dick, and actually in a lot of there's a few of them where you have to choose an option, but certain dialogue options you can literally just say nothing and just let the NPC, let the team just kind of talk, which is really interesting. But but there are like a bunch of really cool just moments in the game where it's like, oh, that's kind of fun. Like the way you kind of solve certain these like I guess in like cutscene puzzles where there's moments like one of the biggest moments is you have the creature that you're fighting in the game, Magus. He's like or like Peter's kind of he's sort of dreaming kind of, and Magus is like eating up. He eats up all the Guardians. He's kind of eating up the world, and Star-Lord's running away from him. But Star-Lord can hear himself as 13 telling him, like, we don't run. We need to be a hero. We're a hero. Like, heroes don't run. And you're running away from the thing because that's what your gaming instincts are telling you to do. But then you realize it's just an endless loop until you stop running and face Magus head on, and then Peter will pull out his guns and shoot it. I thought that was a really cool puzzle where it's a puzzle and the game kind of tells you the answer, but you kind of have to you have to kind of break your gaming instincts in order to pull it off. There's a lot of those little moments, excuse me, in the game where like there's this moment where you're going through like the Nova Core like directory and stuff, and you're trying to figure out how to talk to the world mind. And there's moments where like the team will come, you can see their hands, and they're like gonna press the wrong button. You have to like slap their hands away. Really funny, just super goofy, but I just love it because he gave it a lot of charm. And I love how this isn't. One complaint I heard or that I saw was people thought it would be cool if they would have got the MCU voice actors, but I'm like, that's extremely expensive, and two, why would you get the MCU voice actors for a game that has no ties to the MCU? Like, that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And that's a lot of money. Because Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Batista, Bradley Cooper, like Vin Diesel, they're not cheap. So why would you get them for a game that has nothing to do with MCU, where you just kind of get some pretty good sound alikes? Or not even sound like, just people that, make the game their own. And I think all the voice actors did an amazing job playing their characters, because the Guardians, they've been together for a little while, but they're not quite a family yet. But by the end of the game, they become more of a family, and they have a much bigger bond, which is really cool. Kind of going back into kind of like the loyalty missions, where there's something that every Guardian has to get over, and when they get over that, that unlocks their ultimate move. Excuse me, in their like ability wheel, which is cool. There's a lot of good references. There's like one of the coolest things is like early in the game, Drax is like, oh, you know what? Because you're on a mission to try and get a monster. Drax keeps saying, hey, we need to get Fing Fang Foom. Let's try to get him. And Peter like, no, we're not going to do that. By the end of the game, you actually fight Fing Fang Foom, which is really cool. It's super dope. They even do some references where like Fing Fang Foom wears purple shorts, because in the comics, he actually does wear purple shorts for some reason. That's really cool. Adam Warlock is in the game, which is really cool because the story kind of ties around really the Soul Stone, which is cool, and Magus is actually an Adam Warlock, a villain from the comics. I think it was I can't forget, not X Force, New Mutants. I think Magus is in New Mutants, and so that was really cool. Also, Peter has in his room on the Milano. Peter has the poster of Dazzler, which is really cool. Dazzler's an X-Men, so X-Men is in kind of this Guardian of the Galaxy game universe. So I'm curious to like how will that go? Cause I think some X-Men join the Guardians some point in time that happens. But the game's really fun. I really enjoyed it. It's a fun story. The story's not super complex. There's a couple of twists and turns, but it's not super like deep. It's pretty straightforward. It's a comic book story. I love that they used the Mind Stone because we just went through all the MCU stuff with the Infinity Stones and Infinity Saga and all that stuff. But I think it's cool because the Mind Stone is a big, or not the Mind Stone, the Soul Stone is a really big part of Adam Warlock's character and stuff. So I thought it was cool. And he's such a big Guardians character. I thought that was cool that they put him in, because if you go through, or when you go through the Nova Corps like directory, you can go through like heroes and villains. You can see the rap sheets of all the Guardians. You can see like some of the good guys. And Adam Warlock's there, but he's like missing or something. They also show Nova Prime. What's his name? I'm saying my brain says Reed Richards, but that's not Reed Richards. Like my brain's saying like Michael Reed. That's not. It's something Reed, and my brain can't think of his name now. But Nova Prime from the comics, he's MIA during this point in the story. So I thought like, oh, maybe he'll pop up in the story at the end. He doesn't, which is kind of sad. But I really thought he was going to pop up. I need to look up Nikki, because Nikki Gold, she's a character in the game, and then by the end of the game, she actually ends up getting powers, and she kind of joins the Guardians prematurely. They kind of take her in, so she'll be like the 5th Guardian. And also the llama you end up saving, Cammy, is now kind of indirectly a guardian too, which is kind of funny. Mantis is in the game. She's actually super dope. I thought we were going to see Mantis fight a little bit more. Because I actually saw Mantis is actually one of the best hand-to-hand fighters in the Marvel Universe, which is, I didn't know that. So you get to see a little bit of her fighting. Like, you get to see kind of her stance. You can tell she ready for smoke. But Mantis is really cool. Like, she adds some really good layer. Cosmos is in it, which is really cool. Just a lot of fun references. There's a lot of, I think the Blood Brothers are in it, which I think they're, like, henchmen down the line. And also, one of the coolest things is like one of the first bosses is you fight the Dweller in Darkness, which if you just saw Shang-Chi, Dweller in Darkness is the big bad of that movie. So I thought that was cool that we see the Dweller in Darkness in the MCU in big cinematic form, and then you play the Guardians of the game, the Guardians of the Galaxy game, and then bam, you fight the Dweller in Darkness again. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was actually kind of well put together. But the game's super fun. I told you right now you can get it for about $30, damn near anywhere. It's definitely a good buy. It's definitely good vibes. It's fun, really fun writing. Like I told you, the combat's kind of the weakest part of the game. There are like some little glitches and stuff, and little bugs I did come across, but nothing too serious. Also, I love all the licensed music. You can actually play the game with unlicensed music, so you don't get flagged. But whatever, I wasn't recording it. I just let it rock. I love the huddle system. It's funny how the huddle system. It's easier when you're like beat up because you could pick you could pick what's saying for when like your team's down and they need to be encouraged. But if you're in the battle and you're like destroying the battle, you're doing really, really well. It's hard to pick the one that kind of keeps them motivated. It's weird. I thought that was kind of interesting. But the game was fun. Definitely enjoyed it. Definitely pick it up on PS5, PS4, Xbox Series S. It's on everything. And I really hope maybe we get, because think about it, in 2023, we're supposed to get Spider-Man 2 with Miles Morales. We're supposed to get a new Spider-Man game, a Wolverine game, and I hope maybe we get Guardians of the Galaxy 3, or 3, Guardians of the Galaxy, the game 2, which would be nice. But definitely check it out. I definitely love it. It was easily my game of the year for 2021. Just super fun, super straightforward. It will cleanse your palate of the Marvel Avengers game. I promise you that. It will cleanse it. It will, you will forget that game ever exists. Because I actually haven't played that game. Even though they have the DLCs that they added now, I haven't played it anymore because I was just like, ugh. But Guardians of the Galaxy does a really good job of like making you forget that game ever exists. So I hope Eidos Montreal gets another property and they can do another game. But thank you for checking out this episode of the Aura Podcast. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Just like always. Well, yeah, because this video is going to be on YouTube. So like, share, comment, subscribe. It also goes up on all the podcasting sites as well. So you'll be able to check out the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It'll also be on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for all the support of the Aura Podcast. I greatly appreciate it. I don't know where greatly is, but that too. Here's to a great 2022. Always and forever, slicing, dicing, gaming. Not just a motto, it's a lifestyle. I'll see you next podcast. Later.